Imagine for a moment that I could offer you a deal, a very simple deal. For the next 10 minutes, and only for the next 10 minutes, you could see your own future. Not everything, of course. That would be too much information, too overwhelming. But you could see one important thing. Maybe you would see who you will marry, or what job you will have in 20 years. Or maybe you would just see where you will be eating lunch next Tuesday. Would you take the deal? It's a tempting offer. The human mind is a funny thing. It craves certainty. It wants to know what comes next. We spend so much of our lives planning, worrying, and wondering. We are all in our own small way trying to look around the corner of time. This desire is not new. It is as old as humanity itself. Ancient kings consulted oracles, staring into smoke and fire, hoping for a sign. Farmers looked to the sky, trying to guess when the rains would come. We are a species obsessed with the future. It's the great unknown, the final frontier of our personal experience. And yet, for all our trying, the future remains stubbornly elusive. Let's travel back in time. Not too far, just to the year 1900. Imagine you are at the World's Fair in Paris. The air is buzzing with excitement. It is the dawn of a new century. People are making bold predictions about the year 2000. They had seen the first automobiles. They had seen the first telephones. They felt anything was possible. One prediction said there would be no more C, no more X, no more Q. They thought K could replace C. S could replace X and Q. It seemed logical, efficient. But here we are in 2025. Our keyboards still have C, X, and Q. The prediction was completely wrong. It missed something crucial: culture. Another prediction involved the horse, specifically horse manure. In 1894, the Times estimated that by the 1950s, every street would be buried under 9 feet of manure. It was a serious problem. Cities were growing. More people, more horses, more manure. They simply extrapolated the trend, drew a straight line into the future, but they missed a key piece of information. They missed the automobile. The car didn't just solve manure. It created a new world with new problems: traffic jams, pollution, parking tickets. The future is rarely a straight line. These stories are lessons about prediction. The experts weren't foolish. They used the best data they had, but they were trapped in their time and assumed more of the same. They failed to account for a disruptive idea, a game-changing invention, a sudden turn in the road. This is a common mistake. We see a trend and assume it continues forever, but trends break. They get interrupted by the unexpected. Think about the music industry. In the late 1990s, the biggest companies sold millions of CDs. Their future looked secure. They predicted people would keep buying plastic discs. Then peer-to-peer appeared. Suddenly, people could share music for free online. It shocked the industry, and the business model collapsed almost overnight. The future arrived like a tidal wave. Experts missed it because they were looking at the wrong map. The lesson: expect disruptions, don't blindly extrapolate trends. There is one prediction that has captured the popular imagination more than any other. It has been a staple of science fiction, World's Fairs, and futuristic cartoons. For over a century, we have been promised a future where we would leap into our personal automobiles, lift off from our driveways, and soar above traffic. It seemed like the next logical step in personal transportation. It was an iconic image of progress, a symbol of a future that was sleek, fast, and free from the morning commute. Yet here we are, and our cars remain stubbornly on the ground. Why did this particular future fail to materialize? The answer is more complex than you might think. It's not just a technological problem. We have had the technology to build something like a flying car for a long time: helicopters, small planes. The real problem is in the system. Imagine a sky filled with thousands of flying cars. Who would direct the traffic? What would the rules be? How would you prevent collisions? How would you handle a breakdown in midair? The social, legal, and logistical challenges are immense. A new technology must contend with protests, laws, and huge infrastructure. It's one thing to invent a machine. It's another to create the vast, invisible infrastructure needed to support it. The regular ground-based car has a massive system supporting it: roads, gas stations, mechanics, traffic laws, and a century of cultural acceptance. A flying car would have to build all of that from scratch. It's an enormous undertaking. The future that wins is often not the most futuristic idea, but the one that is just good enough and easy to adopt. The internet wasn't a single flashy invention, it was a slow, creeping revolution that reshaped everything quietly, piece by piece. The future often arrives not with a bang, but with a whisper. We are often seduced by the spectacular. We imagine radical, world-changing inventions, but very often the future is shaped by smaller, less glamorous changes. Sometimes sci-fi inspires technology, other times it warns us. The future is a conversation between imagination and reality. The future is often the product of many small decisions, systems, and adoptions, not a single leap. So the flying car story teaches us that systems matter as much as inventions. So if predicting the big picture future is so hard, how do we manage to predict anything at all? Let's go back to the weather forecast. It's one of the few areas where we receive daily predictions about the future. And for the most part, it's remarkably accurate, at least for the next 24 to 48 hours. How do meteorologists do it? They are not looking into a crystal ball. They are using immense amounts of data and a deep understanding of systems. They have thousands of weather stations, satellites, ocean buoys, constantly collecting temperature, air pressure, wind speed, humidity. A computer model takes the current state of the atmosphere and runs it forward minute by minute according to the laws of physics. It simulates cloud formation, fronts moving, and the likelihood of precipitation. The forecast on your phone is the end result of a massive computational effort. It is a triumph of scientific prediction. The secret to a good forecast is that it's not one big prediction, it's millions of small calculations. The further you try to predict, the less accurate the forecast becomes. A 24-hour outlook is reliable. A 7-day forecast is tentative. A 30-day forecast is an educated suggestion. Why? Because of the butterfly effect. A tiny change can set off a chain reaction that leads to a huge, unpredictable outcome weeks later. The atmosphere is a chaotic system. Small errors in initial data grow until the model no longer reflects reality. We can predict the movement of planets with incredible precision because gravity is simple and the system is stable. We can predict the weather a few days out because we have a good model and lots of data. But when systems are very complex, or we look too far ahead, prediction becomes almost impossible. The real world of human societies, economies, and cultures is infinitely more complex than the weather. It is the most chaotic system of all. Where do our ideas about the future come from? Often they don't come from scientists or corporate planners. They come from storytellers. Think of Jules Verne, writing way back in the 19th century. He asked, "What if?" He imagined submarines and trips to the moon, ideas that later inspired real inventions. Science fiction gives us a language and images to think about the future. Before the first real-life video call, millions of people had already seen it on shows like Star Trek. Fiction planted images that later became real devices. Writers were solving story problems, but in doing so they created compelling visions that inspired engineers. Sometimes fiction acts as a warning. Orwell's 1984 didn't predict the exact tech, but nailed social dynamics like surveillance. Today, with CCTV, internet tracking, and facial recognition, his language, Big Brother thought crime, helps us talk about dangers we face. Fiction inspires technology. It also frames warnings. The relationship is a two-way street. When we look at science fiction, we are not looking at a blueprint. We are looking at a gallery of possibilities. Some are utopias, others are terrifying dystopias. They help us imagine the world we want and the one we want to avoid. These stories are a way for society to think through consequences before technologies arrive. The storytellers are not fortune tellers. They are map makers, drawing maps of potential futures and inviting us to decide which direction to take. They help us imagine the world we want to create and the one we want to avoid. So science fiction guides both imagination and caution. It frames our choices. For centuries, people in Europe believed that all swans were white. It was honestly an undisputed fact. You could build a perfectly logical theory based on this observation. Then, in 1697, Dutch explorers discovered black swans. It shattered the belief. A black swan event, an outlier, a total surprise with major impact. The financial crisis of 2008 was a black swan. For years, the global economy seemed stable. House prices kept rising. Experts, regulators, and complex models suggested the system was sound, but they were looking only at white swans. They missed hidden risks. Complex financial products acted like a ticking bomb. When the crisis hit, it was a profound shock. It came out of nowhere. Later, we said the signs were there, but most people simply weren't looking. The COVID-19 pandemic was another black swan. In late 2019, life moved along as usual. Few imagined a novel virus halting the planet in months. Public health experts had warned it was possible, but for most it remained an abstract threat. Then it happened. Suddenly, lives were upended. Airplanes stopped flying, offices closed. We learned new terms: lockdowns, social distancing. No matter how much data we collect or how sophisticated our models are, we cannot predict black swans. They lie outside regular expectations. They are game changers, history makers. They remind us that knowledge is incomplete. Acknowledging black swans is wisdom. It means admitting you don't know everything and building resilient systems that can handle shocks. Build resilient systems, shock absorbers for societies, so you can handle surprises. Prepare for futures unlike the past. The best prediction? You will be surprised. Surprises will come. Plan for resilience and adaptability rather than certainty. While we cannot predict black swans, we can get very good at predicting small, everyday things. We do this by recognizing patterns. Human beings are creatures of habit. We follow routines. We have predictable rhythms to our lives. You probably take the same route to work, stop at the same coffee shop, and see the same people on the bus. Your life is a collection of patterns. Companies collect data about what you buy, what you search, what you watch. They are not trying to predict your entire life, just your next purchase or your next watch. Consider Netflix. When you finish a show, it suggests something else you might like. It's pattern recognition on a massive scale, looking at your history and the histories of millions. This collaborative filtering finds your taste neighbors and suggests what they liked that you haven't seen. This kind of prediction is everywhere, from Amazon to Spotify. It feels personal, but is impersonal statistics. It works because human behavior, in the aggregate, is consistent. We fall into taste tribes. We follow trends and are influenced by friends. These signals make predictions powerful. However, this method can only predict based on what you did in the past. It gives you more of what you already like. It struggles to introduce something radically new, something you didn't even know you might like. It can trap you in a filter bubble, predicting the consumer but not the evolving human being. It can predict your next step in a pattern, but not the moment you decide to break it and become a different person. It can predict the consumer, but struggles to predict the human being, the messy, evolving self. That tension between predictable patterns and unpredictable human change is at the heart of why some predictions work and others fail. What is the one variable that makes predicting the future of human society so difficult? It is, simply, us. Human beings are not billiard balls. We are not cogs in a machine. We have consciousness, emotions, free will. We can change our minds. A person can see a prediction and decide to act differently because of it. This is reflexivity. Imagine a respected economist predicts a crash. People sell to avoid it. Their reaction can make the crash happen earlier. Conversely, a prediction that a neighborhood will boom can become self-fulfilling. Our beliefs shape our actions. Our beliefs about the future shape our actions now, and those actions shape the future. That human element separates social prediction from scientific prediction. An astronomer predicts a solar eclipse. The planets are indifferent. Human systems are not. We react, we learn, we adapt. Predictions can change what they try to foresee. We can be stubborn and irrational, inspired and creative. We can fall in love or change careers overnight. How can any model predict a burst of courage or a sudden insight that changes everything? Even our best computers cannot capture the messy, beautiful chaos of the human spirit. Models can analyze trends and make probabilistic guesses. They model patterns but not singular human moments. Our capacity to surprise ourselves is our greatest weakness as subjects of prediction, and our greatest strength as humans. It is the source of innovation, art, and progress. We will always be the unpredictable variable in the equation of the future, and that unpredictability makes life worth living. So we come to the end of our 10-minute journey. We have seen how the future has fascinated and frustrated us for centuries. We have looked at confident predictions of the past and seen how amusingly wrong many were. We've seen flying cars that never took off and black swans that changed everything. We explored the science of small guesses like the weather forecast and the art of big dreams like science fiction. While patterns exist, the human spirit remains unpredictably beautiful. What then is the final lesson? The message is simple. The fact that we cannot know the future is not a failure. It is a gift. Imagine if every success and failure were laid out before you. The surprises would be gone. The thrill would be diminished. The lessons from mistakes would lose power. Life would become a performance, not an experience. The uncertainty is what makes it all worthwhile. It is the space in which hope and freedom and choice can exist. Embracing this uncertainty is a kind of courage. It means accepting you are not in complete control, and that this is okay. It means focusing on the present, on choices you can make right now, rather than worrying endlessly about a future you cannot see. Build a life that is resilient and adaptable, not brittle and dependent on one outcome. Be open to new possibilities, to changing your mind, to discovering parts of yourself you never knew existed. Think of your life as an unwritten book. The first chapters are written. That is your past. You can read them and learn, but you cannot change them. The page you are on right now is the present, and you are holding the pen. All pages after this are blank. You get to write them one choice at a time. That is the most exciting prospect. The mystery is not to be feared. It is a promise that your story is not yet over. The best parts may be yet to come. Embrace the unknown, write your path, and savor the surprises.